You are listening to the People First podcast.
People First is a self-advocacy group run by people with learning disabilities, and People First podcast is a platform to raise awareness about real issues that affect people with learning disabilities in our community and all around the world.
We aim to inform and entertain our listeners by interviewing interesting guests and talking about the things that really matter to us. This is like having a stage to speak out and get our voices heard.
Hello, and welcome to the People First podcast. Today, we are speaking to Becky and Jen from the organisation IMAS. IMAS stands for International Mixed Ability Sport, and we are very looking forward to asking some questions and learning a bit more about it. Welcome, Becky and Jen. We hope you enjoy being on the show.
Lovely, thank you, and thank you very much for having us here. We're really pleased to be here.
What are your roles with IMAS, and when exactly do you do?
So we work very closely with IMAS, but we're actually from an organisation called Nifty Sustainability. So we are IMAS's research partner. So we track everything that they do, or as much as we can, and we look at the impacts that it's having on the different people that are involved. And I think we're going to talk a bit more detail about the various things that we do a little bit later.
How did you first get involved in doing research?
So actually, so I've been involved with IMAS a little bit longer than Becky has. So I'll go first. And I got involved with them in 2015, so about 7 years ago now. And IMAS were organising a tournament in Bradford at the time, a mixed ability rugby tournament. And they were inviting teams from all across Europe to come and play mixed ability rugby. And so I volunteered to help them out with that. And then when I got involved in mixed ability rugby, I could really see the impact that it was having on the people that were involved. And so I said to IMAS, it would be really great to do some research around this. And since then, we've been doing research on all of their activities. So we've got about 7 years worth of data now. So we know what's going on really well, which is nice.
And I got involved quite a bit later. So at the back end of 2020, in the midst of lots of lockdowns, I saw a wonderful application for a research assistant job with Nifty, working primarily with IMAS. And I just started reading things and I thought, wow, this is something that I just really need to be involved in. And the first thing I started doing was looking into the impacts that COVID had on the organisation and all the different wonderful things that they'd done to keep people who could quite often end up feeling socially isolated, tackle that situation, overcome barriers of kind of tech issues, getting to know how to use different online programs and just keep everybody connected and feeling involved and not alone, really. And then I've gone on to do lots of different things with them, yeah.
What is mixed ability sports?
So mixed ability sports is where disabled and non-disabled players participate together in the same kind of mainstream setup. So rather than having segregated disability sport, which often only happens over sort of 6 to 8 weeks and then it finishes, mixed ability sport promotes disabled people being equal members of clubs, and getting involved in the social interaction side of things as well, and everybody participating together. So whether that's in a rugby team, or whether it's boxing and boxing training together, or whether it's rowing and everybody being in the same boat. That's what mixed ability sport is. And IMAS does a lot of mixed ability sport, but combines it also with education, whereby IMAS experts by experience go round to sports clubs, for example, and do presentations about how perhaps in the past they've been excluded from sport and how it can be possible to be more inclusive.
One of the really important things about mixed ability is that there's no kind of major adaptions. It's just kind of minor adjustments to make it so it's accessible to everybody without changing the rules of the sport.
And a really interesting thing actually is that although it starts with kind of this disabled and non-disabled participants, we've really found that generally that means that there's lots of other people that would also get involved in the sport who might not before. So people who perhaps used to play the sport, like rugby, for example, when they were younger, and then haven't played for ages since, they feel that they have a place in a mixed ability team. Or people with long-term health conditions, or even people who just feel like they're not confident enough to join a mainstream gym. They're also happy to get involved in mixed ability sport because it's a much more welcoming and safe and non-judgmental environment to play sport in.
Do you know Tempin Bowling?
Tempin bowling?
In the
We haven't. There isn't mixed ability temping bowling, is there? There's bowls. There's outdoor bows.
Crown green
Yeah.
kinda.
Are you a temping bowler?
Yeah.
Are you?
Oh,
Well, that's
opportunity
interesting.
there.
There is opportunity there.
I as well.
Are you?
Are you? Oh.
I was Stephen Madden and Patrick Olympic.
Ah.
The World Games in Ireland.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, let's get on to IMAS and start some mixed ability temping bowling.
And I want to see People First, Keithley and Craven Tempin bowling team competing.
Yeah.
Do you know about the news book called Dodgeball?
Well, I've seen a film called Dodgeball, so I know of it, but I've never played it. Have you played it, Daniel?
It's really good, yes.
Do you like it? Is there any dodgeball around this area?
Yes, it is, yeah. Keithley and Skipton.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. There's a lot going on around here that I must need to be involved in, I think.
So. I have been involved in a game of dodgeball, but it was with a very big kimball, so I don't think I really stood a chance.
No.
For people that don't know what a kimball is, it is like a very big exercise ball, and yes, I was an easy target.
Yeah.
I've got a question. It is the ability go-karting as well.
I don't think there's that either. No. You're picking up on all the sports that there aren't.
Yeah. Might need to make us a list and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, definitely.
What are looking for when you are doing your research?
That's a really lovely question. So when we're doing the research, really we're looking at how being involved with mixed ability sport impacts different people. So to start with, I was looking at how being involved in mixed ability rugby impacts people. And so for disabled participants, that often means that they're getting involved in sport when they haven't necessarily had chance to get involved in sport before. And then often with non-disabled participants, they're really thinking more clearly about disabled people and shifting their perceptions around disability. So it has a really big impact on everybody that's involved. More recently, we've been starting to look at healthcare practitioners, and IMAS have been working with them. And Becky's been leading on that, so I'll let her tell you what we're looking for there.
Well, a lot of what we want to do is amplify the voices of the people involved, and really get a good kind of perspective of what they're experiencing. And a lot of what they do at the moment is they're offering placements for healthcare students. And I don't know if you know much about kind of the structure of IMAS, but IMAS have got experts by experience who are trainers. So they've got a group of people with lived experiences who will then partner up with medical students, maybe physiotherapy students or third-year medical students at university, and they'll kind of co-produce a project together.
And what impacts does it have when the IMAS trainers work with a healthcare practitioner?
So the healthcare practitioners often say that they've not really had any experience of working with people with disabilities, and that they feel quite anxious about what that could mean, and kind of how to communicate with people. And what they actually realise is that they just need to see the person, that they need to just make sure that they're taking into account individual people's perspectives and needs, and talking to them and not to carers and family members. And they just really get a perspective of how much they, as healthcare professionals, can have an impact on somebody's access to healthcare. And they learn about all sorts of different concepts, like different models of disability, medical and social models, and taking asset-based approaches with people, and having people really involved in their own healthcare and being active participants in their own healthcare.
Is researching for a man different? Is it becomes bigger that it was?
That is, yes, that's a really interesting question to ask. And I don't think we've ever thought about that, but it's definitely different as it grows. So when I first started researching with IMAS, I got involved in pretty much all the sports that they ran. And so I did lots of mixed ability boxing, and I watched lots of rugby. There wasn't any women's rugby at that time, so I couldn't join in. And so I really kind of knew a lot of the people that were really involved, but it grew really quickly. And now they're doing lots of different sports, and they've got loads of different activities going on all across the UK, and in fact across the world. Mixed ability rugby has really spread loads in South America and across Europe. So it's really exciting. But that means that we have to try and keep an eye on what's going on without it being in our local area. Actually, something positive, I think, that came out of COVID was that the idea that you can actually interview people remotely. And so we can still speak to people and chat to them and do the research with people in different parts of the UK and the world, because we can use Zoom. But we'd rather talk to them face to face. That's nicer, isn't it?
How many different groups does asthma as, and is it different to within each different sports?
That's a good question.
A really good question.
I think
yeah.
I needed to have another look through the most recent programme
Yeah, true.
to see how many different groups.
True.
Lots. Bradford's a bit of a hub, really, so we're quite spoilt for choice in the Bradford area. There's all sorts of things going on. There's mixed ability boxing, as you mentioned, lots of rugby, mixed ability football, mixed ability swimming, rowing,
Golf,
bowls,
yeah.
there's the multi-sports and cycling.
Yeah, and some Kimball.
Lots. And that's just spreading everywhere.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
Yes, absolutely. And so what we tend to do is, rather than looking at kind of each sport individually, we talk to the people who are involved and say, what's your experience of mixed ability, golf or tennis or whatever it might be, and then look across that, kind of look across all the different sports. But we've definitely noticed differences within the sports in terms of how they play out with mixed ability. And that's been really interesting. And some of them, I think, lend themselves to mixed ability more than others do. Rugby is a really great one, because in a rugby team, if you think, there's lots of people of different shapes and sizes, and they have to play different roles on the pitch. So some people might need to be really big and strong at the front to power through other people, and some people need to be littler and really quick and run down the line. So rugby is a great one for involving lots of different people. And then if you think of something like rowing, you have to be really good at kind of just doing the same movement again and again and again. So that takes a bit more concentration. So that might not suit everybody. So it's really interesting looking across the sports and who it might suit and how different clubs have incorporated people.
How important is it to have event like the come at the park where we meet you at?
Well, really important. I think that, I mean, even just from some of the comments we were getting from some of the groups that were there that I was talking to, they were saying that often people don't particularly like going to the doctors for the healthcare checkups, and it can be a bit of an ordeal, but knowing that they're going to somewhere where they're going to have a bit of fun and there's a bit of socialising going on, there's a couple of sandwiches on offer and lots of different groups to talk to and some sports to get involved in. And they said it turned what can often be a quite unpleasant situation for a lot of people into a bit of a day out, really. So it made people more keen to go. Everybody got a bit of a check of key healthcare things, and they could get their COVID booster jabs and do a bit of exercising and socialising, like I say. And funnily enough, it was actually at one of the healthcare kind of days that IMAS met one of their current trainers who has since gone on to work in partnership with healthcare providers. So it's kind of come a bit full circle. She was introduced through one of these events, and now she's had a bit of a role reversal, and she's the one that's teaching healthcare practitioners. And she also set up the first women's rugby club. So had she been on board before you started, Jen?
Yeah, true.
You would have been.
I would have had my chance. I could have been a prop. And actually, so Katrina, who Becky's talking about, was the first female IMAS trainer as well, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And Katrina's been absolutely, she's been a real flagship, I suppose, for IMAS, and she's got lots of other people, including her sister, involved in IMAS training as well. So she's been a fantastic advocate for mixed ability sport. So for IMAS, those events are really important because they get to raise awareness of mixed ability amongst lots of different people, and people who maybe didn't think that sport would be something that they'd like to do. And then they come along and, as Becky said, see it in a really fun way, and it actually reduces anxiety around the healthcare aspect. And that means that that they maybe get interested in sport and maybe take it up and participate for longer.
How many events do you intend and do you have any in the future? Well,
so kind of as the research team, we really try and get along to as many things as we can. But as we said a little earlier, because IMAS is now so big, there's lots of events that we can't necessarily get along to. But we've attended a really big range, and I'll maybe talk about the one I've most recently done, and then Becky can talk about some of hers. I think it would be rude not to mention the latest International Mixed Ability Rugby Tournament, which was held in Cork in Ireland back in June. And IMAS attracted about 1,200 participants to that event. So we had 24 different rugby teams who were competing for the mixed ability trophy over there. They have two trophies, actually. The first one is for the winner of the tournament, the men's and the ladies tournament. They had a ladies tournament for the first time. And then they've also got the winners of the Spirit of Mixed Ability Rugby Tournament. So that's for the team that best embodies mixed ability rugby and the real spirit and ethos and values behind that. And that was an amazing event. It was over a week, and it rained a lot, but spirits were incredibly high and everybody really enjoyed it. And I think I'm only just recovering now. Where are we now? In November.
I've most recently been attending quite a lot of healthcare focused events. So I've been at Cougar Park where I met you guys, and I've been involved in. They've been doing some training sessions, kind of team building, a bit of a presentation about mixed ability, and some kimball activities for lots of healthcare practitioners teams within Bradford. So there've been social workers, lots of healthcare professionals from Waddyloves, and lots of people mainly involved in kind of, how would you describe it? I think
With the healthcare stuff.
yeah. How would you kind of group that? 'Cause it's not just social workers.
No, well,
It started off as social workers and then
it
it's
did.
evolved, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
I think generally people working with disabled people, I think, and more broadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because some of the last ones we went to, IMAS had some physiotherapy students, and so did Waddyloves. So there was a bit of a meet-up of physiotherapy students from different perspectives. So yeah, just kind of going along, seeing what everybody gets up to, and seeing the ways that it kind of can impact all of the healthcare professionals involved, and how the trainers can kind of impact people with their stories. And it's such a powerful moment to see a room full of healthcare professionals listening to somebody with lived experience, and the kind of moments of realising the impact that they can have, and the things that you can run into within the healthcare system, and knowing that that's going to make what's happening on that day is going to make a positive change in the futures.
Yeah, and the healthcare practitioners generally say, actually going forwards, it's really going to make me think about listening to people and their own experience. And I think there was quite a good quote came out of the last session around sort of, it doesn't matter if you've read a textbook on it, the person who is standing in front of you and telling you about their experiences, they're the expert in it. So we think IMAS is having a really great big impact in the healthcare sector, which is very exciting.
If people want to get involved with IMAS, what is the best way to do so?
Brilliant. Well, obviously we'd love as many people as possible to get involved with IMAS. So I would say to look out for events like the ones that Becky was just talking about in the local area, or visit the IMAS website, which is www.mixedabilitysports.org. And through there you can contact the organisation directly, or you can find out what sorts of activities they've got going on in your local area. So loads of different ways.
Why is it important that everyone has the opportunity to have access to sports?
It is really important that everyone has access to sport, because it's really well known that sport can really impact not only your physical well-being but also your mental well-being. There's really loads of evidence that says that the sorts of things like making friends through sport can really give you lots of social connections and confidence, and you develop skills and teamwork and all sorts of things. But having access to mixed ability sport, I think, is even more important, because actually what mixed ability sport does is really make you think about different people, and it really challenges your perceptions around different people. So often when we talk to sports clubs and they say, well, when we first heard about mixed ability, well, we weren't sure. Are we going to have to do something special for disabled participants? And our members are worried that they're not going to be as skillful or as good at sport. And then when you play mixed ability sport, or you watch mixed ability sport, you can see that that's not the case. And it really breaks down people's perceptions around disability and around social difference more broadly. So there's lots of people that get involved with mixed ability sport and say now they're less quick to judge people, and now they see the person first. And I think that really resonates probably with your organisation completely. So there are lots of people who don't have access to mixed ability sport or sport, and I think IMAS is doing some really important work in getting more people access. Do you want to add anything to that?
What is your favourite part about being part of the IMAS research team?
Feeling like I'm a part of it, because it's just such a fantastic thing to be involved in, and getting to know the people that are involved. I've met some really wonderful people through IMAS, and I think just being a part of something bigger than you that is a social movement really, and is kind of demanding that equality and saying this is the status quo and we think it's wrong, and let's do something about it.
Yeah, and I think it's building on that. Actually, when we do the research, we get to tell IMAS what is working and help them to expand their impact, and we get to sort of write the evidence that then allows them to say, hey, look, this is what we're doing, and this is why it's working, and these are the impacts that it's having. So we sort of feel, I think, that we're doing our bit in advocating for a fairer society through helping IMAS do that. And it's also just so interesting. Since I've been working with IMAS as a researcher, I've gone through the same process as many people who play mixed ability sports. I've really had lots of my perceptions challenged that I didn't even know existed. And it's really made me much more reflective and so much more curious about people and their differences and their abilities, and what would help them to fulfill their potential in life. And we get to play quite a lot of mixed ability sport, don't we?
Yeah.
Which is an added bonus.
Yeah, I never did sport before, and now I do mixed ability boxing, so that's fun. And something I never thought I'd do, and I would never have had the confidence to walk into a mainstream boxing gym, and here I am.
And that's the story that we hear all the way across the research. It's really bringing sport to people who didn't think sport was for them, and that's fantastic.
That's all we have time for today. We'd like to thank Becky Jen for this is their time coming in and talking to us. We really enjoyed learning more about Emma and your part in it. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we sign on?
I think just to say thank you very much for having us. It's been lovely to chat to you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Please like and share the show to our post. Wish more listeners to continue to join the show. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.